Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I have to tell you, I have been sitting here just shaking my head and feeling this heavy knot of worry in my stomach over this entire situation with Jack Brennan and sweet Jocelyn Jacks. When I look at what is happening, I see a classic tale of a young woman stepping blindly into a trap and a seasoned protector desperately trying to pull her back from the edge. Brennan is a man who knows the darkest, most dangerous corners of the world. He has seen the absolute worst of human nature, the kind of deception that ruins lives forever. So, when he looks at Jocelyn suddenly being handed the keys to an entire corporate empire by her father, Jasper Jacks, his instincts immediately start screaming that something is terribly wrong. And honestly, my instincts are screaming right along with his. It just does not make any logical sense for a wealthy, experienced businessman like Jacks to hand over his life's work to a young woman who has absolutely no experience running a company of that magnitude. It sounds like an absolute fairy tale, does it not? A loving father giving his beautiful daughter the ultimate gift, setting her up for a life of power and success. But we all know that in Port Charles, fairy tales usually have a very dark and terrifying twist. Jocelyn, bless her heart, is so fiercely independent and so eager to prove that she is a capable, strong woman. She is practically glowing with pride over this appointment. When Brennan gently tries to warn her and tells her that he is going to look into this sudden windfall, she completely brushes him off. She tells him he does not need to investigate, essentially telling him to mind his own business. Oh, the stubbornness of youth! It reminds me so much of how our own children act when they think they have the whole world figured out, completely unaware of the wolves circling just outside their door. I just want to reach through the screen and shake her to tell her to open her eyes and listen to the man who is trying to save her life. But of course, Brennan is not the kind of man to just walk away and let a disaster happen, especially when he cares about someone. He tells her he is going to investigate anyway, and I completely cheered for him in that moment. He knows that when something looks too good to be true, it almost always is a beautifully wrapped lie. And then we have this new character, Hudson Parker, who has suddenly appeared as the supposed executive vice president of the company. I do not trust this man as far as I can throw him, and neither does Brennan. Jocelyn has not even bothered to do a simple background check on him. She is just blindly trusting the shiny title on his business card. It is absolutely terrifying to watch her sit there, so confident and self-assured, while this stranger lingers around Port Charles, holding the strings to her new corporate kingdom. It is like watching a lamb happily chatting with the butcher. Brennan is no stranger to the modern world of cybercrime, and his mind immediately goes to the most logical, terrifying conclusion. He knows how easy it is for brilliant, wicked people to create fake websites, forge documents, and build an entire illusion of a functioning company out of nothing but digital smoke and mirrors. He suspects that the company's website might have been hacked, or worse, that the entire operation is a front. He has pulled off a few digital tricks himself in his time, so he knows exactly what to look for. And as he starts digging into the company, the website, and everyone involved, including the mysterious Hudson Parker, the picture starts to look incredibly grim. He begins to wonder why a shadowy figure would want Jocelyn as a CEO. The answer makes my blood run cold. They want a figurehead. They need an innocent, trusting face to take the fall when the illegal activities are finally exposed. They are setting our sweet Jocelyn up to go to federal prison. As Brennan dives deeper into this digital ocean of lies, the clues start pointing toward a ghost from the past. And just thinking about this name sends absolute shivers down my spine. We are talking about Jerry Jacks. Yes, Jocelyn's uncle. The international fugitive who has been a dark stain on that family for more years than I care to count. For those of us who have been watching this town for a long time, the memory of Jerry Jacks is like a nightmare we can never quite shake. I will never, ever forget the sheer terror he unleashed when he poisoned the entire water supply of Port Charles. Do you remember that? It was a time of absolute panic and heartbreak. Little Emma Scorpio Drake was just a tiny thing back then, right around the same age that Wiley Corinthos is today. The thought of innocent children drinking poisoned water, the hospitals overflowing, the doctors desperately working around the clock to reverse engineer a cure from those toxic chemicals. It was one of the most harrowing things we have ever witnessed. We were all so relieved when the doctors finally found the antidote and Jerry was captured and thrown into prison where he belonged. We thought the nightmare was finally over and that the town could heal. But monsters like Jerry never stay locked in the dark forever. He managed to escape, slipping through the fingers of justice, and he has been in the wind ever since. Not a single word, not a single sighting in years. But a man with that level of evil, that level of brilliance and cruelty, does not just retire quietly. He waits. He plots. And now, all the signs are pointing to the horrifying reality that Jerry Jacks has returned from the shadows and he is using his own niece as a pawn in his latest sick, twisted game. The sheer betrayal of it all is just staggering. It is one thing for a criminal to attack a town, but to target your own flesh and blood, to use your brother's daughter as a human shield for your cybercrimes, is a level of depravity that just breaks my heart. Knowing that the stakes are life and death, Brennan does the only thing he can do. He goes to Carly Spencer to ask some very hard questions about her ex-husband, Jax. Now, we all know Carly. She is the ultimate mama bear. If she thinks her cubs are being threatened, she will bare her claws and fight to the bitter end. When Brennan approaches her, the tension in the room is just thick enough to cut with a knife. Carly confirms that she recently spoke to Jax, and she claims that Jax was absolutely furious to learn that Jocelyn was acting as an agent for the WSB. But Carly, in her desperate attempt to protect her daughter and keep Brennan away, adds her own manipulative spin to the story. She tells Jax that Brennan has been manipulating Jocelyn, essentially throwing Brennan right under the bus. She thinks she is being so clever, protecting her daughter from a dangerous spy by turning her father against him. But oh, the tragic, heartbreaking irony of Carly's actions just makes me want to weep. She is standing there, so proud of herself for outsmarting Brennan, completely unaware that she is likely just played right into the hands of a monster. Brennan, being the sharp, seasoned operative that he is, does not buy this story for a single second. Why would Jasper Jax, a man who loves his daughter more than life itself, be completely unreachable to everyone else? Why is he supposedly sailing the ocean blue, completely disconnected from the world, yet somehow perfectly timing these massive corporate handovers? It just smells like a trap. So, Brennan decides to take matters into his own hands. He uses his high-level WSB clearance and systems to trace the phone number that Carly used to contact Jax, and he also runs a trace on the number Jocelyn has for her father. What he finds is the kind of bombshell that changes everything forever. When Brennan finally gets the trace results, the truth hits like a freight train. The satellite ping does not show a boat floating peacefully in the middle of the ocean. It does not show Jax living out a luxurious, carefree life on the waves. The path leads straight to solid land. I literally gasped out loud when I realized what this meant. It is a spoofed number, a fake, an illusion created by someone who is a master of cyber deception. Someone is sitting on dry land, using advanced technology to mimic Jax's phone, answering Carly's calls, and pretending to be the loving father. And when you put all the pieces together, the fake corporate appointment, the mysterious cyber elements, the sudden appearance of a shady vice president, and a spoofed phone number, all roads lead directly back to the brilliant, psychotic mind of Jerry Jax. He is the one pulling the strings. He is the one who spoke to Carly. And this leads us to the most horrifying, gut-wrenching question of all. Where is Jasper Jax? If Jerry is the one pretending to be him, if Jerry is the one handing over the company to set Jocelyn up for a massive fall, then what has he done to his own brother? My heart just aches with the terrifying possibility that Jax might be gone. We are staring right at the very real, very devastating chance that Jerry Jax has murdered his own brother to steal his empire and use it as a front for his international crimes. The thought of Jax meeting his end at the hands of his own flesh and blood is almost too much to bear. Jax has always been such a charming, loving presence, a man who would move mountains for his daughter. To think that his final moments might have been filled with the betrayal of his own brother is a tragedy of epic proportions. I cannot stop thinking about poor Jocelyn and the absolute emotional explosion that is heading her way. Right now, she is walking around with her head held high, so proud to be following in her father's footsteps. She thinks she is making him proud, taking the reins of his legacy. But she is actually obsessing over a ghost. She is pouring her heart and soul into an illusion built on the blood of her father. When the truth finally comes out, when she realizes that the father she loves is dead and that her own uncle used her as a sacrificial lamb, it is going to destroy her. The guilt, the grief, the sheer trauma of it all, it is going to shatter her world into a million tiny pieces. And Carly, oh, poor Carly. When she realizes that she was actually talking to her ex-husband's killer and that her lies to protect Jocelyn actually helped Jerry maintain his cover, the guilt is going to eat her alive. This is what makes watching these stories so incredibly compelling, yet so deeply painful. We become so attached to these families. We watch their children grow up, we celebrate their victories, and we weep for their losses. To see the Jacks family facing such a catastrophic, evil betrayal brings tears to my eyes. Jack Brennan is the only one standing between Jocelyn and absolute ruin, and I am just praying that he can unravel the rest of this digital web before the trap completely snaps shut. The tension is rising. The stakes have never been higher, and the dark shadow of Jerry Jacks is looming over Port Charles once again. We are bracing ourselves for a storm of grief and betrayal, unlike anything we have seen in years. Thank you so much for letting me pour my heart out today. Hold your loved ones tight, and let us all hope that our favorite characters can find a way to survive the darkness that is coming for them.